I'm John Rabel, the founder of Launch, which is a legal and business advisory firm for small and mid-sized companies. I thought I'd talk a little bit about some legal needs and issues that tend to come up when businesses start to grow. Obviously, you've got some issues to address when you first get started, such as getting your corporate entity set up, whether that be an LLC or a corporation, getting all those documents in place, maybe thinking about what type of insurance you might need to cover yourself, how you're going to protect yourself from clients or customers, and then how you're going to interact with vendors. All those are some baseline things I think most businesses try to address early on when they're first getting started. But then as your business starts to grow, you start to expand, maybe new product lines, new service lines, or maybe you're just expanding geographically. You've got to figure out a way to sort of update your business, keep it growing, bring on some new strategies, some new ideas, and those things are going to create some new risks that you might not have had to deal with before. I think it's important to try and address those before any real issues come up, save you some time, save you some money. So a few issues to look at as your business starts to grow, and think about some things you might want to put in place to protect yourself and the company. First, as you start to grow, you're going to probably need to be bringing on workers. That's either independent contractors or employees, most likely. It's getting harder and harder to classify a worker as an independent contractor. It's a real push towards businesses classifying everyone as an employee. So you'll want to first consider whether or not you can properly classify someone as an independent contractor if that's the route you're looking to go. Once you get past that, you're going to want to make sure that you're going to comply with all the laws, and some of these vary state to state. You've got wage and hour laws, overtime, making sure you're properly taking care of any taxes the business might be responsible for, getting a real handle on that. Are your employees exempt or non-exempt? And are you properly classifying them in those categories? So what you want to think about is how you can maybe set up some processes and policies for onboarding employees, making sure you get all the proper paperwork in place, having them sign some agreements that will protect the business, whether that be confidentiality, non-disclosures, or non-solicitations, and possibly non-competes, depending on the specific position. So setting the baseline with all that, having them agree to certain policies, there's an understanding that they're an at-will employee if you're not hiring them on a contract. Really getting a handle on those things early on, getting it set up before you start bringing on employees can save you a lot of headaches down the road. Another area that sort of becomes more important as you grow is getting control on your intellectual property. So every business has some. It's either a patent, a trademark, a trade secret, or a copyright. Whatever of those applies to your business is specific to you and sort of what industry you operate in. But intellectual property can become extremely valuable. Brands become very valuable. Trade secrets, your business plans, your marketing plans, your client lists, those are very valuable assets to your company. You don't want that information getting out. So you want to be able to identify intellectual property when you create it. And secondly, you want to make sure that you can take the steps you need to protect the intellectual property. And finally, you want to sort of review it, see if there's an asset there you can take advantage of. If you've created a new sales process that's amazing and gets fantastic results, that could be a real asset you could license out and be an additional revenue stream for your company. Another area to look at when you're growing is making sure your contracts are all shored up. A lot of businesses get off and running. Maybe they haven't formalized their contracts as much as they'd like to. And now as you're growing, it's a great opportunity to circle back, get a real handle on your contracts, make sure you're protecting the business as much as possible, making sure you've got a process in place to handle contracts. Who starts the process of looking at them, getting them together, what issues in there are non-negotiable, making sure the right parties sign the agreements, and then that you're documenting any dates that might come up in contracts. A lot of contracts auto-renew these days. I can't tell you how many times I see companies that get caught in a contract that's auto-renewed that they wanted to get out of because they didn't know the date that they needed to give notice to terminate it. So I think starting to pay attention to contracts becomes even more important. I think something else you want to do before you start to grow is take an overall analysis of the business. What are your risk issues? Have you got any potential issues lingering out there that may come up to bite you down the road or may turn into disputes? Really analyze those, see if there are any options for you to sort of resolve them before you put a lot of time and energy into growing the business. The bigger the business gets, the more someone's going to want to go after it. Those disputes that could be settled now before you take on big expansion moves could pop up down the road and be 10 times as costly or time consuming to deal with. So I think taking an analysis of any potential issues, trying to address them before turning your focus and resources full on into expansion. So if you got any questions about legal risk in general, legal risk as your business starts to grow, feel free to reach out. I can be reached at jrabil, that's JRABIL, at launchstrategylegal.com or 804-442-6090.